Hey guys, today is Sunday. I promised a Q&A, so I'm gonna try to fit that into all my other chores. But there's been a lot of questions for me about how the gym is coming along. Now this is my home gym. It's not your typical garage gym, as you can see. It is pretty damn big. So I'm gonna show you real quick the most recent update, which is, if you look across the ceiling, I had before these office lights. Really ugly, flat, sort of, I don't know, corporate looking lighting. Was not a fan. So what I did instead is I just came through, and you can see, let me flip on the switch here. Ooh, I think it's on this side. Let me flip on the switch to a couple of the lights. And what you'll notice is that it has a lot more of sort of a rustic, but definitely a more natural looking vibe to it. I don't typically work out at night, so I don't really need lights in the first place, but it's definitely a whole hell of a lot better than the office lighting that was there before. So that's the most recent update to my home gym. The home gym's name is the Iron Pine. It's coming together. We've got a lot of equipment left I still like to put in here, but you know, at the end of the day, all you really ever need is somewhere to do pull-ups, squat, lunges, that kind of stuff in the beginning, and just sort of build on it from there. Now I am lucky enough to be able to work out at work sometimes, or work out at other gyms and stuff, but it's nice when either gyms are shut down or you just didn't have the time in the day. It's obviously, I'm really lucky to be able to come home and get a full lift in. So that's how it's coming along right now, and I'm pretty proud of it. Okay, so workout's done. Grocery store, got that done bright and early this morning. It's obviously a super pretty day here. Couldn't ask for really a sunnier, clearer, more blue skies kind of day, but it's still February and it's still fucking cold. I think it's like right now, yeah, this is my trusty little thermometer. I think it's reading a little higher, but it's 40, like 41 right now. It said like 39 in the truck. So this is why I brought that up. Still snow on the ground, even though it's beautiful out. And I'm running a little bit low on kindling, not wood. You guys, as you know, I have plenty of wood, but running a little low on kindling. So today, I'm gonna have to head out just for a few minutes, go out maybe 30 minutes and go get some cedar. Go find a tree that's maybe like half fallen and off the ground a little bit, so I have some dry kindling I can bring back, chop that up real nice and fine and get that ready for the week, so I don't have to work so hard getting fires going later. Other than that, I'll start by answering one question, but then I gotta go inside and change in some warmer clothes because it is fucking cold. So one of the questions I got on the Q&A on my Instagram was, did I go to college? And I did. It took me a little longer to get my bachelor's degree than the average person because I worked all the way through getting my bachelor's. Didn't have the money to pay for college, so had to figure it out, make ends meet, and kind of work my way through. So it slowed me down quite a bit. But I got my bachelor's degree in health exercise science. It took me about 4.5, maybe 5 years. And then right when I finished, they offered me to get a free master's if I stayed and worked as a graduate assistant, so I chose to do that, and I did. I got a bachelor's and a master's now. Not now, I've had one for a while, but it's one of those things where I didn't think I was gonna go to college really as a kid growing up, and I did, and it ended up pushing all the way through to a master's, so pretty crazy, but that's where I'm at now. So as you can see, I got some of the kindling that I needed, way more up at the house, but job's done. I can move on with my day, my Sunday, start relaxing a little bit more, hopefully at least. And I think it's a good time to answer a couple more of these questions. So one of the ones that kind of stood out to me, especially given the context of me sitting outside right now after some labor, is this great question, which is, do you have any tips for a hard gainer? I lift 5 days a week and eat in a surplus, but can't gain a pound. So I mean this with absolutely no disrespect to the man who asked this question, but you're not eating a surplus. You're absolutely not eating in a surplus, because if you were eating in a surplus consistently, you'd be gaining weight. There is no way around that hard fact. Now, a lot of people who have not found the success in gaining weight or putting on muscle are going to contest that and say, yes, but I'm eating so much, I eat all the time, I promise you I'm eating in a surplus, and I promise you that you're not. And this is why I say so. You may track your calories, you may track your macros, but if you haven't found out what your actual basal metabolic rate is and how much calories you're burning, whether you have a laborious job
Maybe you just exercise a whole hell of a lot. Maybe you go on a lot of walks and hikes. It doesn't matter. The truth is if you're not gaining weight with the amount of food you're eating, you're not eating enough food, because your body is not in a consistent enough surplus all the time to put on the weight. Now, this man himself might be a little confused because he asked and he thinks that he is in a surplus, but let me explain how you can blow a surplus very easily. Monday, you eat more calories than you burn, so you're in a surplus. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, you're pretty careful. You make sure you do the same thing and you're in a surplus. But by the time Friday, Saturday rolls around, you're excited about hanging out with friends, family, going out, trying to have a good time, going to a party, whatever it may be, and 6, 7, maybe 8 hours pass and you don't eat your meals. You don't eat that much. You go home, it's 3 in the morning, and then you decide to try to slam some Taco Bell or some pizza thinking that you're eating in a surplus. You're not. Because this is what happens a lot of times to people, is they lose context with what they're actually eating in the course of a week, of a month. And they're thinking because 1 or 2 days went by where they ate a ton of food, that it's going to consistently put them in a surplus in the course of a whole week, and that's just not the case. So you have to start looking at, and I don't mean this with any negativity, I'm obviously trying to help. You have to start looking at your life and your diet on a larger scale, not just in the course of a day, of one hard day of work. You need to start looking at it over the course of 7 days, 8 days, 10 days. Were you in a surplus for all of those days? And then you'll find those are the circumstances in which you're actually going to see results. Now I'm gonna head up to the house, but I'm gonna answer one last question. So I'll get ready to go and move on with breakfast. I'm getting pretty hungry. What supplements do I use and which ones do I recommend? For example, greens, pre-workout, BCAAs. That's a kind of a long road to go down, but I'll keep it simple. Protein if you can't get enough protein in. Carbs, if you're having long workouts, you need carbs in the middle of your workout, probably paired with some sort of essential amino acid. BCAAs, or branched chain amino acids, are they worth your money? If you're eating enough, you probably don't need them, but if you're going to take them, make sure they have essential amino acids in them as well. Branched chain amino acids are just sending the signal. Essential amino acids are making sure there's actually bricks to put together once that signal for muscle growth has been sent. So you need both if you're gonna take them at all. And like I said, if you're eating really well, it's kind of negligible whether or not you need them. And then of course, one of my favorites is a pre-workout, because it allows me to switch gears from one moment of my day to the next and kind of tells my brain, hey, it's time to get going, it's time to lift, it's time to work out. The pre-workout itself is really not gonna change your physique at all. It's sort of an indirect effect, right? If you're enjoying your workout, if you're having fun in your workout, if you're pushing yourself, you're gonna see results. So those are kind of the staples. From a longevity standpoint, I would say take maybe a green supplement, just a quick one that you could take down. Maybe zinc, for sure zinc actually. Vitamin D, iron, magnesium. That's pretty much it. If you're taking those things, you're covering the broad spectrum. And the only other thing I could think of that a lot of people are lacking on is maybe a fish oil, but make sure it's coming from shrimp or krill, because large fish aren't feeding off of all the algae and stuff on the bottom of the ocean. So they're not getting all those nutrients that the little guys are getting. And the larger the fish gets, the more disconnected they are from that part of the food chain. So if you're gonna take fish oil, it should come from the much smaller creatures in the ocean, not the large ones. That's pretty much the spectrum of supplements I would recommend. Other than that, man, just work hard, eat good, and grow like a weed, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go inside, get started on breakfast, and we'll keep this thing going. All right, Sunday breakfast is done. Today it's Moons Over My Hammie, the remix. I live really rural, so there are no Denny's around. So if you want stuff like that, if you're craving stuff, you have to just figure out ways to make it on your own. Obviously, that's not a super complicated recipe, but I'm enjoying something small today on Sunday. Not really gonna track too strictly on my macros. It's very important that you enjoy at least 1 or 2 meals a week without obsessing over those numbers. But today, a fresh orange and a breakfast sandwich is about as good as it gets for me, so I'm keeping it simple. And I think it's kind of funny, I don't really like super hot food, my food to be really warm or hot to the touch, so I like more like lukewarm, warm food instead. Not really sure what that is, but that gives me about 8 to 10 minutes here to answer a couple more questions for the Q&A. So I'll pull one up. I'm gonna try to answer one more long form kind of
deep question and then maybe one short, kind of easier question. So here's a good one. Says, Soli wants to know, how do you feel about the body positivity movement? There's so many people that don't understand what that actually means and claim that it's promoting obesity, but it really isn't. There are people like myself who do yoga 4 times a week and still have the body that I have. It's a deep question, right? Because this is a societal issue that we're dealing with right now. And I think the first thing to understand when you go into any societal issue is that the answer is almost always right down the middle. Almost always. Meaning that on one side of the spectrum and the other side of the spectrum, there's good points being made, but people have too much dogma over the situation. They want to claim one way is right or the other way is right, and that's just not the case. I'm sorry, I don't want to get emotions involved in this, but I think it's important to understand you need to love, appreciate, and respect your body for the things it does for you. Helps you go for walks, helps you enjoy life, living, breathing, eating, smiling, laughing, spending time with your loved ones. With that said, you're not going to appreciate your body if you always confine it into a hole of how it looks and how it looks in like comparison to the people around you. So if that's your constant measure of health, you're going to struggle for the rest of your life. Because there's going to be times where you wake up and you feel great, but you go look in the mirror and change your mind about how you feel based on how you're looking in that moment. And that's not what body positivity is about. Body positivity is about respecting, appreciating, and loving your body. Now, with that said, I've also seen a push sometimes too far in one direction in which we're promoting all body types to the nth degree to sort of claim that love and appreciation means we shouldn't somehow look for health from a physical standpoint. So when it gets in the way of that, then the body positivity movement can indeed be a problem. Because we have to understand there are things like cholesterol, there's things like diabetes, there's things like heart disease. These things are killing people every day in huge quantities, and we have to have an ability to say, I love my body, I love the way it looks, but I also want to live a long, healthy, and prosperous life. The only way to do that is to, of course, analyze how healthy you are from a physical standpoint. Now, if you have good blood panels, everything looks healthy, the doctor's telling you your heart's good to go, you don't have diabetes, you have a good relationship with food, but maybe you just carry around a little extra fluff, you're good. You shouldn't be skewed in one direction or another to feel a certain way about your body just because you carry around a little more body fat than the average person does. But we have to understand body fat, just like anything, muscle can be the same way, but body fat to the extreme is going to put your life at risk. It's going to put your health at risk. So if body positivity movement goes so far as to promote the idealism of a body that isn't healthy, including too much muscle with steroids, that's not healthy. Too much fat, that's not healthy. We need to understand that there's a line you can draw in the sand for yourself, and that line is, do you feel good about the way you look? Are you happy with it? In absence from societal's views. So that's my thought on that, and I don't really know that there's much more to be said, at least from my standpoint on the subject, so we're going to move on to a lighter subject now. Let's see what I can find. There's always so many good questions on Instagram, but there's so many. I try to whittle it down to the ones that grab my attention first. That one's too deep for me. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? Well, I don't know how many of you have seen a horse in real life, but there's really no chance with your bare fist that you're gonna do much to a horse. And if a duck is just a horse's size, it's gonna be the same size problem. So I would much rather get out a golf club and just go to work on 100 duck-sized horses. That's from Natalie on an undisclosed location. I hope she doesn't own those because I really don't want to have to follow through with what I said. What are the top 5 things you need to incorporate into your day to make you feel accomplished, says Brenda R. from Los Angeles, obviously California. So I'm not gonna give you 5 because it wouldn't be authentic for me to sit here and claim that I could come up with all the 5 things I need in a day. But 1, some sort of physical activity. Doesn't have to be about your body shape
or the way you look, but some type of physical activity to help get my mindset in the right direction and feel good and relieved and calm and like I can tackle the day. Super important for me in my anxiety and my physical health, so that's number one. Two, I would say a moment of peace or a few moments of peace in the day where there's no screen, there's no outside influence, there's no music. I know you guys hear me preach this a lot, but if 6, 7, 8 days go by and you can't recall a single time where you were just in quiet and peace with the ability to kind of look intrinsically on what your life is looking like in that moment, you're never going to address the tough questions, the hard problems you're dealing with in your life. And then one day when that quiet moment comes, you're gonna feel so overwhelmed with all of the problems you haven't addressed that you're gonna have too hard of a time actually addressing any of them, because it's gonna be all coming down on you at once. So those two things are huge for me. Physical activity, a moment of quiet and peace that's just about me and nobody else, no other things, no other sounds, no other noises or stimulus. That's an accomplished day to me for sure. Christopher Ramos says, okay, this is the exact physique I am aiming for. It was under my picture, so I'm assuming he's talking about my picture. He's from Los Angeles, and his question is, how do you deal with mental toughness when it comes to your goals, dreams, personal life, and you don't stay stagnant? We're all changing all the time, and I don't have a get-rich-quick scheme for anybody, but the number one thing you need to do is you need to find things you enjoy and keep those things around in your life, no matter how much money they bring you, no matter how much status they bring you. You need to pick things that you enjoy, because then those will follow. Money will follow, status will follow, and love and enjoyment of everything what you do needs to come first, so that those things can come after. Because what I find a lot of times now, especially with fitness, is people treat it almost like a new pair of shoes. They're treating it like this object fits into society's idea of cool or sexually attractive, or fill in the blanks of how I'm going to appear to other people. So I'm going to chase this and try to increase my status. But the problem is when your motivation wanes, and it's going to all the time, you're not going to make it to the gym. You're not going to make it to your goals because you don't enjoy chasing them. So if you don't enjoy whatever lane you chose, I promise you, you're gonna fall off, and you're gonna fall off hard, and you're gonna have an identity crisis when it happens. Because then you're gonna be reaching and asking yourself, well, if I don't have abs, who am I? And that's a huge problem. You need to figure out something you like, something you love, because all those other things you want, status, acceptance, they're gonna come along with it. So don't chase those things first. You need to chase what you enjoy, and you'll never miss a day in the gym again, or a day on a kayak, or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. It doesn't need to be muscle based. It doesn't always need to be about muscle, unless you enjoy that. More coming. What is your biggest fear? A question from Quebec City, Canada. Just like all humans, I fear a lot of very scary things, but I think the most consistent fear that I've had my whole life is arachnophobia. I'm fucking terrified of spiders. Haven't been able to change that. I've tried many times with exposure therapy, not formal exposure therapy, but when I see a spider, I try to cope with it, deal with it. But I'm still terrified, man. I don't know. If I see one, I'm messed up for a couple minutes afterwards. I still think things are crawling on me, and so I can't do it with spiders. That's my biggest fear for sure. How tall am I? Well, I am a very unexciting 6 foot even. In the morning, at night, any time of day. Never gonna be 6'1". I'm already done growing. And one day when I'm really old, I'll probably be 5'11", but right now I'm exactly 5'12", 6 feet tall. Oh man, there's some amazing questions in here. Let's do one more, and then I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna eat my breakfast, and we'll do some more later tonight. Let's see, what's my favorite season and what type of weather? Do I enjoy rainy days? Says Alicia from upstate New York. Well, she kind of answered it for me, because my favorite weather, and that's why I lived in Oregon for a while, my favorite weather is weirdly rainy days. I really like fall. Something about spring rain too is really calming to me. I like a little bit of rain, but not every day. I like, obviously, the sunshine coming around long enough to just kind of brighten you back up again and get you excited about going outside. But yeah, for sure rain, cozy days like that are always gonna be my favorite. And I don't think anything is much better than driving in the rain to go to the gym, work out. You kind of feel like there's nowhere you'd rather be than inside lifting on a rainy day. So I've always enjoyed rain for sure. All right, I'm gonna eat my breakfast and we'll get back to this in a little bit. Okay, so I am pretty close to wrapping it up and calling it a day or calling it a night. Pretty tired. It was a long one for a Sunday. Gonna have a few snacks and then hit the sack. But before I do that, I'm gonna answer a couple more questions. And one of those questions, I don't even have to look at my phone because it was multiple times it was asked, but a lot of people wanna know what my dog's names are. And although they're right here, I'm gonna see if they'll come over here for me. Ollie, come here. Come here. This little guy's name is Ollie, or Oliver. He's a chocolate brown schnauzer. He's a weird dude. Love him, a lot of fun. And if you hear prancing around during my videos, it's usually that guy. And then this is my other little dude, Bobby. He's a little less public about his appearances, but he's pretty cute. So those are my two dogs. I'm definitely a small dog person. I can't really explain why. I've had big dogs too in my life, but just with my lifestyle and stuff, it makes more sense to have smaller dogs. And you know, my property is very well protected, so I don't really need a dog for that. So it's been nice. They're more company and fun than anything else. So here's another question. Less fun, but kind of in the same realm of short and easy to answer. Alexander, or Isaac Alexander, wants to know, have you considered incorporating calisthenics into your workouts? From Houston, Texas. So while I think using weights or weightlifting or resistance training is sort of the end all be all when it comes to really making sure you're prioritizing putting on muscle tissue or being anabolic, or you know, whatever phrase you want to put that into for shaping your body, I put calisthenics in the same category. I fear a lot of people want to put calisthenics and weight training in two different camps, mainly because a lot of people who train in one don't do much of the other. But here's the thing. If you're serious about bodybuilding, if you're serious about fitness, if you're serious about health, functional fitness, whatever category you want to put yourself in, calisthenics should be part of that. If you're a power lifter and you can deadlift 750 pounds, but you can't do 3 pull-ups, and you say, well, that's light or it's body weight, so I don't do that kind of stuff, that's heavy lifting for you. If you can't get 3 pull-ups and 3's your max or 2's your max, then you should be incorporating that into your training and finding a way to overload the movement and get stronger, especially when it comes to your body weight. Keeping yourself proportional and just generally capable is underrated. And being a natural bodybuilder myself, or just a natural fitness model, whatever you want to call it, it's important for me to always be able to do pull-ups, to do push-ups, to be able to push my own weight or carry my own weight around, for lack of a better metaphor there. So, you know, calisthenics should always be a part of your routine. They don't need to be the only thing you do in your routine. I think there's something to be said about the wear and tear that can take place if you're doing a lot of, like, you know, too many dips or too many just pure calisthenics because of how many reps you have to do. But at the same time, they should always show up in your workouts every once in a while, or once in a routine at least. That's personal opinion though. I'd like to know, this lady's name is Michelle, and she said, I'd like to know what you suggest for a woman to get the round booty. So this is a topic I actually really like to talk about, mainly because I think it's so misunderstood. So if you go looking on the internet, or unfortunately Instagram now, what you're gonna find for women is a lot of stuff that's sort of catered and geared towards that societal mindset about wanting to tone or stay lean with the fear of getting too big or large with lifting weights. Obviously that's taken a big turn and it's not so much of a stigma anymore, but it still exists a little bit. And you'll see a lot of times these sales and push of using booty bands, or these weird like glute kickback variations, or people walking up the step mill or the Stairmaster and kicking their leg back saying it's going to help tone the glute ham tie-in. And while there's no bad exercise in the sense where as long as people are exercising, I'm happy for them, if you're going to ask my opinion on what is worth your time, that's not it. that's not going to get you any significant results. I would liken that to the equivalent of trying to sweep your floor in your house with a toothbrush. You're just not going to get the job done in a reasonable amount of time, and by the time you're done with one side, you're going to have to go back and start on the other side. So you're not going to get enough tissue breakdown, damage, mechanical load to take place if you're just using booty bands and weird little body weight kickbacks. Can those be incorporated into a warm-up? Can those be incorporated into, you know, an activation glute routine? That's fine, but it shouldn't be the main priority when it comes to you putting on tissue. Remember, muscle fiber has to be broken down and it has to be mechanically loaded with tension for the body to actually eccentrically load anything and break down that fiber. You're going to have to load it. You're going to have to load it with some weight, or the body's at least going to have to interpret the load as heavy. Now, you can do that with body weight if you're creative enough and picking your right exercises, but you can't be afraid to use resistance. You can't be afraid to use thick bands, like real resistance bands. You can't be afraid to do some lunging, some split squats, some hip thrusters with an actual load on your lap. So keep that in mind and understand that if you're wanting to build any shape, if you're wanting to really add tissue size to anything in the muscle, you're going to have to load it mechanically. So although booty bands aren't I wouldn't say a complete waste of money, they're not the answer. They're definitely not the answer. Okay, so let me find one more question and I'm gonna go to bed. Here we go. Let's see what I can find. Yeah, but anyway, so I don't like to talk down with, you know, lecture and tell people that they're wrong for picking exercises and this and that. Everyone's got their own goals, but if your goal is to add tissue, doing 10 million kickbacks is not going to get you in the right direction. That's for sure. We got one more I'm going to pull up. We'll figure it out, and then we'll move on with the night. Here we go. Okay. What's your favorite season, type of weather? Oh, what's my current workout split? It's a great question. You know, I've been kind of sticking, generally speaking, to the same split for a good amount of time now, probably about 3 months. So this is how it works, and I'll try to put it into the details of either the description of the video or right here on the screen. Day one, doesn't matter, whatever day one is day one for you. Everyone's different, depends on your work schedule. But day one is push, so chest, triceps, shoulders. Day two, pull. It's gonna be lats, back, biceps. Day three, legs, usually in the form of a quad dominant day for the first one with a little bit of hamstrings. The day following that is going to be chest and biceps, kind of a weird combo, works awesome because it's a push and then a small pull. And then the next day following that one, so day six is, or day five or day six, whatever comes after chest and biceps. The next one would just be lats all by itself with nothing else. So it'd be a good day to mix in abs or something tertiary like that. The following day is shoulders, triceps. And then the very last day of the cycle is legs. Glutes and hamstrings mainly on that day. So I'll detail that next to me so you don't have to try to memorize. But here's something important to understand. I, during this split, do not have a rest day built in. As you can see, there's no rest day built into that. What's the reason for that? Well, mainly it's because rest days usually come about different based on your lifestyle, based on how you're feeling. You may get sick, you may roll your ankle, just stepping down off a curb. You may just get really busy. I don't know your lifestyle, so I don't like to plan for a rest day. I like for the rest day to tell me when it's time instead of me plan ahead, because if I plan Wednesday to be a rest day and then on Thursday something happens, I've now just put myself in a position where 2 rest days came about and I didn't need 2, I just needed 1. Now, that's what we would call auto-regulation, or making sure that you're deciding and you're having the ability to freely place that rest day when you need it. So I have what's called a flexible rest day. So I plan to hit every single day, 7-8 days in a row, and then when I need that rest, I take that rest and then just pick up right where I left off and continue the cycle. That's actually been really, really helpful for me, and I think it might work for you too. So plan for a full week. Plan for every single day to hit the gym. And if you don't end up needing a rest day and you finish the cycle, take a rest day. Go for a long walk. Don't do anything else in the gym. Keep it simple. Do some crunches at home and just call it and take that day off. But in the meantime, it works best for me to not plan for a rest day and take them as needed. So that's it. I'm going to go to bed. I hope to see you guys soon. I will put this YouTube up with all the description about my actual split, but if you're interested, my app is called Oak, O-H-K, with a line over the O, and that app is releasing and dropping very soon. The beta testing is almost over, and that means it's going to be available on iOS to the public, to anybody with iPhones, and on that app you will find my custom workout split, and every day on that workout split I post a new workout one day at a time so you can follow along with what I'm doing in the gym and keep up with exactly what I'm doing. I'll talk to you guys soon.